Hey guys, how's it going? So we're standing in front of our friend's house where we did some planting earlier on this season, and I wanted to give you a little tour, an update on how the plants are growing, how everything's looking. This is actually the second time we filmed this video. We came down the other day, we did some maintenance, I did some general pruning, I did some deadheading on the roses, I cut back some daisies, and we figured out at the end that my microphone was broken somehow. So here we are again for take two. We'll play some of the footage that we got before though, so you can kind of see what it looked like before we took after it with maintenance. The only difference is between that day and today, I have cut about 5 or 6 inches off my hair. So I look a little different than I did in the first one, but either way, I'm really happy with how things are going. Like, this is just something we kind of threw together this spring. And the whole point of this project, I'm going to talk about it while I'm still in the shade, was to get the flower bed set up on drip, number one. There was no irrigation set up to them, and really in this area, this is a very busy family with lots of kids, lots of things going on. I wanted it to be low maintenance to where they didn't feel like they had to be out here watering it every day or twice a day, sometimes when it's 105 out. So that was our number one goal. Let's get irrigation set up. So there is a water access. In fact, we installed a hose link, a retractable hose on this side of the house. We also put a timer in with a splitter that has drip off of it. In fact, let's just take a look. So there's the hose bib right here. We put in the splitter. One goes to the hose link. One is on a timer that runs the drip system that you can see right here. It comes down and then takes off into the flower beds. And what we had to do, because look right here, see this concrete piece? That goes down like 6 or 8 inches under the ground. And I don't know what it was there for. Neither do our friends. They're like, we just discovered that it was here. So what we did was we ran the drip through the flower beds, came out over here. We had to dig a hole down to get up underneath that concrete, and we brought the tubing up, trenched through the grass, used a really long auger to make a hole underneath the sidewalk, then brought the drip tubing up and brought it into the flower bed on that side.
And the crack was there.
Oh, yeah. Aaron wanted me to point out that the crack was already there. We did not cause that with the auger, but that was really fun just to get it set up in a way that it could be taken care of without having to have somebody, a person out here monitoring everything all the time. And then we only added a few, just a handful of perennials and shrubs this year as kind of anchor plants. I wanted to keep the basic design of this flower bed very, very simple. So I've got a couple grasses, 3 roses, and 3 serendipity alliums. It's the only things that I added in that will come back the next year, but I really kind of did that on purpose. I wanted to throw in a bunch of colorful annuals because when you're planting a flower bed for the first time, that's the old adage, the first year they sleep, second year they creep, the third year they leap. So sometimes it can take a plant 3 years to establish enough to perform like you want it to and to have the color that you want it to have. I mean, right now the roses that we planted have flushed out of bloom. There's not much color I can show you, and that's why we wanted to add color in here so that they can really enjoy the space. And I think it's a good learning tool too, because like, you're not committed. I put 3 different colors in here, and not every one of them have performed the way I wanted them to. Like the Suncredibles, I was expecting them to get tall like they did for us last year and just grace the bottom of the window so they could see some color, but the Suncredibles here and in my own yard have stayed really short this year, and we don't really know why, but still really pretty color. And that just goes to show that not every year do plants do exactly what we want them to do, even though we feel like we're treating them the same. But it's a really good way to try out different colors and think like, oh, I don't really like that bright of a yellow, or maybe I do love it and I want to find a perennial or a shrub that has a bloom that color that I can put in and expect to have it come back from year to year. So in the back layer here, already mentioned, we've got Suncredible sunflowers, and then the next layer is the plain the blue salvia, which is one of my favorite perennials ever. There are pollinators all over in this area right now. And then a supertunia called trailing rose veined. This is a really good look right there. Look how pretty that is. It's a really wonderful supertunia. It has a little bit smaller flowers than traditional supertunias, but they perform really well. In the corners right here and on the other side of the house, I'll show you the other one. I put 2 grasses. They're both the same. They're a Miscanthus, Japanese silvergrass, that grow about 6-7 feet tall, and they'll bulk out like 3 to 5 feet. So it will become a very beefy, grounding plant for the corners of the house without being a tree or an evergreen. And the reason I did that was because there is a basement downstairs, and this is a very narrow flower bed, and I did not want any root system to be messing with anything in terms of foundation. So I think that this will be really good. Plus, it's got heavy white variegation. You should show this, Erin. It's so pretty. I love how thick the blades are, and I love that heavy variegation. which shows up beautifully against the dark color of the siding of this house. So that's the only one that will come back after this year in this one little section. All of these plants will go, which will probably come back and add some perennials later on. There's a Rose of Sharon in the corner. This was here, clearly, super established, very happy and full of color. And then the Serendipity alliums we popped in right there, here, and there's one right back in there. And they are done blooming, but you can see what their leaves look like, even when they're not in bloom. It's still a really pretty looking plant. I really like kind of the thicker looking leaves. It's almost like a succulent-y looking leaf. And so it just kind of provides two different kinds of interest, the really pretty blooms and then the really pretty look of the foliage. There was a daisy here, or is a daisy here, but it was tall and it was kind of flopped over in front. It looked like maybe a cat had laid on it or something. So we went ahead and cut it back. The difference, usually at my house, after my daisies have flushed out with their first bloom, I cut them all the way back to the ground and let them reflush. But that's usually a little bit earlier on in the season. And so being that we're here at the end of August, end of August now, I thought, you know what, we need to leave some leaves. There are buds already forming here. So I was really careful how I pruned it so that we hopefully will get another flush of blooms out of these daisies. They probably won't get as tall, but we'll probably get a few more little white blooms. The containers I'm really happy with. We did put these in and they do have drip run to them, so you can see that right here. We just tapped into the 1/2 inch with some 1/4 inch tubing and brought them right up the back side of the pot. So we've got Color Blaze Wicked Witch Coleus. There's a Black Currant Super Bells, Supertunia Bordeaux. That one looks especially thick on that side. And there is a San Vitalia in here, which really hasn't done a lot of growing, but it looks like it did bloom really heavily. There's a lot of spent blooms there. And then moving on to this other side here, there was another daisy here we cut back. And then here are the roses. These are Live in La Vida. And I did say there were a few good blooms still left here. You can see that color, how pretty that is, that dark, well, it's not dark, it's dark pink, but it's bright. And I originally thought I was going to use red in this space, but I think the red would have been too dark with the dark siding. So I think the pink will show up really well. But this is where you see that the first year, you can't judge a plant's performance based on the first year, because they'll basically just sit there trying to like form new roots and trying to establish. They'll bloom a little bit, like this one's going to flush back. There's some buds forming, and these ones will as well. These roses will as well before the end of the season is out. But just you have to use your imagination with first year plantings. Like these will grow 3 by 3, so they will grow this tall and they'll fill in and be a beautiful hedge right up here. I'm so excited to see that happen. And then here's the other grass right here, kind of in between the roses. There's a Jupiter's Beard right here that looks really pretty. But isn't it crazy? The one on the other side grew so much taller. This one has bulked out, but doesn't have the height of the other one. So who knows, it could be a water issue, or it could be, they'll probably catch up with one another, but they're both looking very healthy. And then right below the roses, because we knew that they weren't going to provide a ton of color this first year, we popped some Diamond Mountain Euphorbia in there and some Lemon Coral Sedum, which those will all go away, but it provided some nice color for this season at least. So that is pretty much it. I just thought you guys might like to see an update on how things are growing. And you know, the only thing in this whole bed that I was just kind of like, oh darn it, was the Suncredibles. I was just hoping they would be taller so that we had a little bit more of a show with those. And you know, every year when we have something like that happen and something doesn't perform quite like it has for us in the past, Aaron and I always kind of think about all the things, like could it be a light issue? Could it be a water issue, a fertilizer issue? And we start going down the list and trying to check off what it might be. In this case, we have no idea because, you know, everything else in that bed, they're all full sun lovers. And so I don't think it's a sun issue. I think it's getting enough sun. Water, everything looks healthy. The leaves look healthy. They're not yellowing, so I don't think it's too much. They're also not wilting, so I don't think it's too little. And then as far as fertilizer goes, I don't think that they have been fertilized like on a weekly basis, but they don't want that. They usually only want to be planted with a slow release fertilizer and then left alone for the rest of the season, which makes it an amazing annual because it's so low maintenance that way. So we're not really sure exactly what's going on, and the fact that they're growing that way here and at our house, you know, maybe next year we'll have more height on them, who knows. But either way, super happy with the color. I think it was a fun little project that we just put together this spring, and hopefully we'll come back and add some more stuff in later, some more things that will come back from year to year. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.